Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast with Blaha. And today I'm having cottage cheese, oats, and frozen strawberries. All right, let's talk a little bit about full body training. Had that come up in the questions when I first started putting up all these client vlogs, which is kind of the direction I want my channel to go. Since I coach anyways, it's what I do. Really, my coaching should be the biggest part of my channel. It's my biggest income stream. It's what I do for a living. It's what I spend my days doing, not YouTube. And, people said, hey, you got these novices on 5-3-1 type templates. You got them on upper lowers. Why aren't they running full body 5x5s like your free programs? That's a good question. And it's because those sort of programs are designed for people not being coached. They're just full body templates to do a couple things. Okay. Number one, by doing full body, you make sure people train their legs. Because if you leave novices, particularly men, to their own devices, what are they going to do? What's their volume's going to look like? Their upper body's going to get 5 times the work their legs do, while they still claim to train legs and squat. Okay, they're going to be weak, they're going to be tiny, and they might have a little pec and bicep. But then they're also going to be imbalanced, they're going to be prone to injury. By doing all this full body, we are making sure that they train their legs and their back, that they have a foundation. Because that's the biggest thing you get later. I've got plenty of clients. I've seen even other influencers use the line, hey, if there's one thing I could change early on, I wish I had done more legs. I wish I had done more squatting and deadlifting my first couple years in the gym. How many times do you hear that? All the time. I wish I had done that. These programs make sure that they do that. And they're coming in and squatting all the time. Right, and we push them to the limits on the squat and then reset. People see that and they're like, they make the same mistake they made with stuff like starting strength or whatever, and they see it and go, this is the first thing that actually worked for me. This is the way. No, it's not. You can't keep that up long term. You can't keep that up long term. I squat once a week. I deadlift once a week, and I put up monstrous numbers. People get the impression that because I'm only doing them, that the muscles are only getting trained once a week. And they're like, well, don't you need to train a muscle more than once a week? Well, they are being trained more than once a week. There's overlap. You don't think your back and your posterior chain get worked on squats? You don't think your quads and adductors and things get worked on deadlifts? Come on. Common sense here, people. They're both leg exercises. Both back exercises. Right? But that aside, this idea of just doing this much squatting, you can't keep it up long. Once you get strong, you just can't recover anymore. You can't recover. And if you do, here's the issue. You have to be able to recover between sessions, and you have to stimulate a certain volume to grow. Well, with these novice programs, very quickly the individual session volume starts to get too low. And then you're spending all your time not recovering. When you're weak, it works really, really well. That's why everyone's like, oh man, I finally grew. Yeah, because we're making you do a bunch of squatting with progressive overload. And that will make your whole body grow. Right? It will. Deadlifts will do it potentially even better. But you get the idea. These guys are all of a sudden growing because their whole system is growing finally. You can't keep it up long term. And it's kind of idiot proof. You just follow the program as it's written, eat tons of food, you'll be fine. All right. When I get someone who is now being coached, we're not concerned with giving them some foolproof system, cookie cutter system. Everything is custom tuned to them as an individual. And I can literally have a late novice do an exercise only once a week. As long as sufficient volume is there to practice it, he'll be fine. As long as we have overlap of muscles, we're maximizing hypertrophy. In other words, let's say we literally do a squat day, bench day, overhead press day, deadlift day. They end up being 4-day upper lower, right? They end up being 4-day upper lower. Every muscle gets worked twice a week, some of them 4. I would rather work off that template than tune the volume. Tune the individual volume, tune the supplemental work based upon the needs of the lifter. And this is assuming I don't put them on conjugate. That's its own topic. There, more or less, I put less people on conjugate than I used to. I used to put everyone on it. Some people's gym equipment, some people's mindset is not ideal for it. It's just not. I can tell you right now, any lifter who has emotional attachments to lifts, any person, any man, and this only applies to men, I've never met a woman who has a problem with conjugate. I just don't. Purely a guy problem. Emotional attachment to an exercise, or any man who has any sort of anxiety issues. Any man who has ever been treated for any form of anxiety, like medically treated, or has ever taken meds for it, not a snowball's chance in hell I'm putting them on conjugate. It is not going to happen. They can't handle it. It's just how it is. Now, I'm going to get some people in the comments who are going to offend and say, well, I did fine. Maybe. What do your max effort days look like? How they go? How strong have you gotten? Do you miss lifts? Do you miss lifts on max effort days? Do you worry about them the day before? Then exactly, you shouldn't be doing conjugate. Do you get upset when you miss a lift on conjugate? If you're still in that category, if you're still answering yes, then you should not be running this system. But I digress. Back to the point. No, I don't put anyone on full body. Nobody does full body who I coach. No interest in it. I don't need it. That's for novices who need cookie cutter programming, and we need to make them squat all the time so that they build a foundation in the squat, which is kind of the king of mass builders and athletic performance. It really is. They need the foundation there, and it forces them to do so. When I'm tailoring programming, I don't have to force them to get in and squat 3 times a week to make sure that they're doing it first. I just program. They're going to follow the programming I give them. Make it balanced. And for people say, well, your mind changed here years and years ago. This is not an opinion I formed a year ago. I've been doing this in practice for years as a coach and have been telling people for years that this is what I do. They just haven't paid attention. They haven't paid attention. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.